our next speaker is Dr. Rob Carson. He's going to be speaking about a topic that I think is super important to many families in this room, non-epileptic myoclonus, or whatever we want to call it. Maybe he's going to rename it today, I don't know. But I am excited for us to really talk about that, because I do think that it impacts a large proportion of our community, particularly those in the adolescent years and adult years, and really trying to figure out how we solve this and how we understand it and how we recognize and diagnose it is very important. So Dr. Carson comes to us from the Vanderbilt Brain Institute, and he's going to be speaking to us about NEM. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry about the voice, good old viral stuff. So I'm going to just kind of update briefly on where this project has moved on to. Again, the goal here has been to collect data on non-epileptic myoclonus. And so a lot of what I've learned is from the families that are in this room or have been, or maybe listening at home. No major disclosures. As many of you know, in Angelman Syndrome, there's a variety of abnormal movements and then movements which are not clearly abnormal. So stereotypies are kind of the normal things that kids do, the happy dances, if you will. Tremors, there's a variety of tremulousness, of course, seizures, ataxia, and then what we talk about is non-epileptic myoclonus. Non-epileptic myoclonus really is best described by Ron Thiebert's group, and it's really thought of as paroxysms or spells of myoclonus, often seen in the hands. It can affect the whole body, including the face, and these can last from seconds to hours to almost the whole day. And really, it's a problem that begins in the teenage years and increases in frequency as our kids get older into adulthood. The more you hear from families, it's clear how disruptive this is. Examples I just have here, it impacts swallow, she can't walk anymore, she cries and gets upset when she has them. So they're very disruptive and they're just very uncomfortable even to watch. So the way I approached this this is a survey-based study. And the first part is really collecting kind of the demographic and descriptive survey questions. But part two of that was families were requested to submit video examples. And what I wanted to do with those videos is to present them to a team of movement disorder specialists and have them look at the videos and have a simple question. What do you think this is? And how would you treat it? And so I've just started moving into that part of the study, and so that's what we'll talk a little bit about today. So this slide, I think, is interesting because it just points out that we need to figure out what we're actually talking about. And so when I did the survey, I kind of listed kind of more common names that people may use for things. And so then also asked, hey, if you've discussed this with a physician, what did they call it? And so you can see things are all over the board, and you may have one thing that the family said, oh, this is a tremor, but it was called 5 different things by different providers. So I think that's one of the key questions that's going to be important for clinical trials in the future is we need to know what we're treating. So the approach that I've done with the first cohort of now 20 videos is presented them to my movement disorder colleagues, and in this case, I've done kind of 4 sessions, and in 2 cases, it was with groups of providers, so it's more of a panel discussion, if you will, and then I've done this individually as well. And so basically, look at the video, say, hey, what do you think this is, and how would you treat it? So I won't go over this slide too much, but this one just points out that, and again, I had a mix of videos that were submitted. So some of these 4 were really in the category of stereotypies. So kind of the normal things that children do, the happy dance, if you will. Actually, in one of these cases, it was a focal seizure versus a movement disorder. So this second group, which, and you may notice if I go back, the average age of this group was 4. In this second group, where the average age was 31, the key thing that points out, and I don't know how well everybody can see this, the parts that I bolded, you'll see the word dystonia show up a lot. And the reason that's important is dystonia is a type of movement disorder that historically has not been applied to Angelman syndrome. Now, if you can read the fine details on this busy slide, you may also notice that in some cases, you'll have examples where one person said, this is dystonia, and somebody else said, it's myoclonic and not dystonic. So it points out that even within a group of movement disorder specialists, there's not necessarily clear agreement on what things are with an individual video. And so the point, though, is that if we take these 20 videos, 8 of the 20 had features that were felt to be dystonic by at least 2 of the specialists that were evaluating these. And some of where this gets challenging is I stole this cartoon of looking at sometimes we'll have people do a spiral drawing, but just pointing out that just the subtle characteristics of something like a myoclonic dystonic movement versus a tremor, there's very subtleties of like a sawtooth movement versus a sinusoidal movement. So there's a lot of splitting that's going on. Now, why was there disagreement between providers? And some of that is because, unfortunately, we're doing a video review and we don't have all the clinical context we need. So, for example, for a lot of different movement disorders, is it induced? If it's a postural tremor versus a resting tremor, is somebody truly resting or are they in a posture? In some of the videos, there's this question of it looks like there's coexisting spasticity, where a lot of our kids aren't necessarily spastic at baseline. So it just really re-emphasizes the importance of having a physical exam that when we bring all this together. So this is kind of getting, there's a lot of lumping and splitting and things we do, but why all this matters, and I think to me what's the most important point of this is when we break out these subtle details of these different types of movement disorders. For each different movement, there are different treatments that many of us to date probably have not used in Angelman syndrome. And now some of the challenges, some medications we use, for example, are dopamine agonists or dopamimetics. Other medicines for the same movement may lower levels of dopamine. So I think the point is, though, that I think this just opens the door to think about a lot of medicines that are already available that we can write prescriptions for today or tomorrow that could be tried. And we just need to think of what's going to be an organized way to start to explore using some of these agents and collecting data along with it. So what we've learned is these are complex, and it may be that what we're calling non-epileptic myoclonus may actually have kind of split into 2 things. One of more pure myoclonus and more of something that's in line with a dystonic tremor. And so from my standpoint, the key things to keep moving forward are, again, continuing to collect data, get more videos, get more video evaluation, and then think about how we're going to take this information and bring it back into the clinic, especially if we now have a list of 5 or 6 different things to try. How do we approach that? So the key thank you is for all the families who have submitted data. That's what's made this project possible. Thank you.